Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of Fireside. That lap song is so smoky goodness, guys. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee. Today is going to be a tech day, a Starlink day to be specific. So a lot of people have been asking me questions about Starlink, and I've been putting them in a list. Well, a couple of them I want to answer for you today, as well as give you some insider information. I call it Starlink Infrastructure Revealed. That's what this video is all about. I found out some information I want to share with you guys, going back and forth with level 1 as well as level 2 tech support over there at SpaceX or at Starlink. And I want to share it with you guys because I think that it's very important and it answers some of your questions, and it will possibly give you some guidance as far as maybe getting a little bit quicker speeds out of Starlink, as well as getting your milliseconds or your latency down. And that is the most important thing to me. We want speeds to be up there as fast as possible, but latency is very important also. Anyone that is a gamer out there knows the faster the ping or the lower the latency, the better you're going to do at like a first-person shooter or something. If you have very high latency, 100, 200 milliseconds, you can get shot, not even know that you're shot, and then just fall over to the floor. You don't even know who shot you because you're so far behind. That is your latency or your ping. If you don't know what ping is, think about ping as being one server communicating with another server. And the first server says ping, and the server that received it says pong, saying that, yes, we received it. So you have a TX and an RX, a transmission packet and a receipt packet saying, yes, everything is fine. And when that packet comes back, how long it took to do that ping and pong is the milliseconds or your ping. And the faster that is, the better off you are, period. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Like I said, with gaming, or if you're just doing simply a Zoom conference with a colleague of yours or a meeting, lower latency is always better. So I want to get into some of this infrastructure stuff with you. Some of you might find it geeky. Some will find it very fascinating. Some will find a lot of use in it. And possibly, like I said, it might help out a lot. So let me get into this. Let me start out by saying a few weeks back, I talked to you guys about getting in touch with Starlink about the service and how the POP that I was associated with was incorrect in my perspective. I am in West Palm Beach, and the POP that I was connected to was in Virginia. Now, some people will be like, oh, what's wrong with that? Well, there is a closer POP in Georgia, and then there's an even closer POP in Miami. That's only about 80 miles away. So the connection was being made between me and the POP. If you don't know what a POP is, basically it's a point of presence. I call it a NOC or a network operations. It really isn't that, but let's say it's a means of getting the data out to the internet as like a central hub, let's say. My hub was set to Virginia. So I reached out to tech support and I said, listen guys, something is wrong here. I'm just, for some reason, being attached to this Virginia POP, and I know that there's closer ones. What can you do for me? Well, let me tell you what they said. But before I do, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks as of yet, go check them out over at JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. So when I told them that this was a problem, I didn't get a response back for about 3 or 4 days, but they changed my POP from Virginia to Miami, literally within about 3 or 4 hours. So obviously they knew that there was something not right there. Was I right? Was I wrong? Chances are I was right, right? The Virginia POP was over 1,000 miles away from me, whereas the Miami POP is 80 miles away from me. Why would I go and send all of my data back and forth to Virginia? Higher latency. I was getting about 60 to 70 milliseconds, whereas once I got connected to the Miami POP, I was getting anywhere from like 20 to 25 milliseconds latency. That was awesome. Literally twice as fast, even possibly 3 times as fast. That was really, really good. Well, long story short, I ended up doing some testing for you guys. I had to reset my router, factory settings, a bunch of times. Well, one of the times when it rebooted, it ended up associating itself with a POP in Georgia. Not Virginia this time, but Georgia. Virginia is about 1,000 miles away, a little bit more. Georgia is about 700 miles away, somewhere right around there, where once again, Miami is only 80 miles from me. But now I'm associated with Georgia. So I wrote to Starlink. And I'm going to tell you what I said, and I'm going to read to you what they said. So I reached out to Starlink or SpaceX technical support, and I said, hey, did you guys switch from POP assignment upon boot of the Starlink router to a load balancing system that would constantly move customers' POP to the nearest POP with the least load? Or was this switch to Georgia, which happened to me, a fluke? And if so, can you fix it? So I'm like, well, maybe they're going to give me some information. At least I'll know what's going on and why I'm tethered to Georgia instead of Miami. Much closer, obviously, 700 miles compared to 80 miles. Well, they wrote me back and they said, Joseph, we acknowledge that there are many third-party websites that claim to provide sensitive details of our network. We reassure you the infrastructure that you are currently being connected to is the most ideal infrastructure for your Starlink connection at this time. We appreciate your continued support. So what technical support here was insinuating was that I was getting my data from this third-party website because I did tell them in the past that I was using a website called Starlink SX, as well as another Starlink website that shows you where different things are that have to do with Starlink, where the satellites are, where their ground stations are, and whatnot. So they were insinuating that this information is false and that no one actually has Starlink sensitive infrastructure data, their connections and how things work. Well, that kind of is and isn't the case. And in my case, I'm not just using a third-party website to get this information. And in my next message to them, I explain that to them clearly. And you'll see what I say. So I said, thank you very much with the person's name. I'm not going to read that, but I am not going by a third party or third-party website. As I am a system administrator, I am using Traceroute and errand lookup information as well as NOC tools that I have access to. So I'm not just like some guy just using a website and that's it. I'm literally digging into this. I continue by saying the IP provided by Starlink was originally resolving at the Virginia POP, which was incorrect as I am located 1,000 miles away in West Palm Beach, Florida. And there were two closer POPs to my geolocation. Tech support moved me to the Miami POP as I am only 80 miles away, which dropped my pings from about 60 to 70 milliseconds average down to 20 to 25 milliseconds. After a factory reboot, I am now connecting to Atlanta, Georgia as my POP. That POP is AS14593 Space Exploration Technology Corporation. Then my IP address /21, which gives a block of IP addresses, which I gave to them, which I'm not reading to you, which was put into operation on November 5th, 2021, with 2,048 available IPs by David Knapp. So they're probably like, where's this guy getting this information? Well, this is all in the errand lookup information. This is just me digging in a little bit deeper. I continue by saying, so once again, my question is, am I bouncing from POP to POP due to load balancing between POPs, or did I once again get assigned to the wrong POP when rebooting my Starlink router? Thanks in advance. Many blessings. So a day later, I get a message back saying, hey, Joseph, thank you so much for providing that information. We will be forwarding this over to our tech support team so they could provide better clarification on your situation. Someone will reach back out soon. Thank you. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, sent it over to their tech support. These people are tech support. So what I'm going to guess is what they were trying to say is they were going to send it to level 2 tech support because they had not a clue of what the hell I was talking about. And that's okay. I mean, unless you're doing this all the time, you don't really know about this stuff. And even if you are tech support over there, you're level 1, you're able to answer simple questions. When you start digging in to what I am asking for, many of them cannot respond to it, which I'm okay with. So they leveled it up. So we're leveled up now to Tech 2 or Level 2, and it took 5 days to get that response back. Now, they respond with this. Hi, Joseph. we are not able to provide information as to the reasoning on why users are at which POP. At the moment, the POP you are connected to is the closest to be provided. Our network is constantly changing and adapting as we grow as an ISP. We are unable to provide any further details as it is proprietary information. We do appreciate the inquiry and hope to provide more avenues for connectivity/improvements as we continue to grow. Many blessings to you as well. That was very nice of them. Very nice. Thank you. So as we're seeing here, level 2 is saying, listen, this guy's digging in too deep. This is our intellectual property. This is our proprietary information that we're not going to give out. We're not going to tell you how we do things. Well, doing a little bit of digging, I think I figured it out. I'm not 100% sure, but with your help, we will find this out, and hopefully this helps. So my thought here was that if there is a load balancing system going on, there is nothing that we can do. It would constantly assign me and you to the closest POP, or the POP that has the least congestion and maybe the fastest at the lowest milliseconds. I don't think that's going on, guys. I don't think so. Because as I've been assigned to that Atlanta, Georgia POP, it has not changed ever since. And I'm testing continuously. So I don't think they're doing any load balancing, which they should. Come on, Starlink. Load balance. This will be easy. It's not hard. I do load balancing all the time in the network operations centers, in the central offices, on these switches to be able to get things to run smoothly. Load balancing is very important. And being able to load balance between POPs, I think, would be a smart thing. But anyways, I don't think that they are doing it. Now, I'm going to get into why, and I want to share my screen with you because a lot of you have had questions about that Starlink.sx site that I told you guys to go to so you can see what POP you're associated with and the satellites and all that stuff. So let me bring this up, and I'm going to give you some really good information that you can actually use right now. We're going to head over to Starlink.sx. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. As you can see, I'm in this location with this green dot over here. Now, there's a lot of things going on here, and let me back out a little bit, and I'm going to show you. Do you see these purple triangles? I've been getting questions from people saying, hey, I'm seeing only purple triangles, but I'm not getting a green triangle. The difference is the purple triangles are those POPs, those point of present locations that Starlink has. And the green one is the one that's currently assigned to you. Some people are saying, hey, I'm not getting a green one. That's all I see is purple ones. Well, that's okay. Let's try doing something. Number one, let's put our location. Where are we located on the map? So to do that, on the upper right-hand corner, you'll see this little target. It says set home location. If I click on that, and if I click on, let's say, Georgia here, all of a sudden, it will move my little spot to Georgia. This is where it's saying that I'm located. So now this map is going to be associated with Georgia, and it's going to tell me which satellites are near me and which ones are connected. We don't want that to happen. What I want you to do is to go to the exact location where you are and then go and click that button again and put a little pinpoint on where you're located. So I'm right around this location, so I'm going to click here. I'm right underneath Lake Okeechobee, so I'll just put here as my location. Now, if I back up now, it is now showing me that my location is here, and we can see some birds flying around me. Now, when I say birds, these are the satellites that are coming near and around me. Now, let me tell you what all of these things are. Starting out with the purple triangles, like I said, are those POPs. I'm currently associated with the green POP over here, which is in Georgia. Now, as you can see, a closer POP 80 miles away is Miami, right? That's the one that I should be linked to. Now, I'm going to get into an alternative way how you can find out where your POP is, but I'll get into that in just a second. I just want to talk to you about what you see on this map a little bit so that you get an idea of what you can do with this. So number one, you see these yellow dots. Now, these yellow dots all over the map are ground stations. Now, these ground stations are very important. Let me go ahead and pull up a diagram that I drew for you guys in a last video. As you can see, we have the computer over here on the left-hand side, and we make a query to Google. What happens is it goes out of our dish up to a satellite. And then from that satellite back down to a ground station. From that ground station, it goes over to the POP, where the main servers are located. And from there, it sends it out to Google. Google responds, it sends it back to the POP, and then from the POP over to the ground station, back to the satellite, and then back down to your dish and into your computer. The important part here is we want to be as close as possible to those POPs. And once again, I should be associated with the Miami POP and not all the way back up here with Atlanta. 700 miles compared to 80 miles just simply doesn't make sense. Now, let me tell you what the difference is between the blue dots that we see and the green dots. They're both satellites, but one is an old system version 1, which is the blue dots. And the green dots that you see flying around, like this one over here, this is a version 1.5. Now, the difference between the version 1 and the version 1.5 is a couple of things. The version 1, there's about 1,000 or even more, 1,200 of those up there. And as you can see, look at all these blue dots. These are all satellites flying around, and there's very few greens. We can see a green over here. There's not many. Now, the greens, which are the 1.5s, those have lasers built in. So what do these lasers do? The lasers allow those satellites to communicate from satellite to satellite in comparison to just satellite to ground station. Why is that important? Well, we can see this green satellite over here. Now, let's just say there was no ground stations. Once again, these yellow markers here are ground stations. If there was no ground station near this location, and the closest one was all the way back here in Alabama, that's okay if there was another green satellite down here flying by Alabama. Why? This satellite would communicate at the speed of light with its lasers to the other satellite down closer to Mobile, Alabama, so that it can go and send that data back down to, let's say, this yellow point down here, this ground station. So, as you can see, the green ones are really powerful. There's another one coming up on the map over here now. So now there's two. So as you can see, what's great about the version 1.5s is you don't have to be as close to the satellites and still be able to use them. Why? Because they can communicate from satellite to satellite at the speed of light and then send that data down to your ground station closest to you. That is awesome. Now, what's also cool about these satellites and every one of the version 1s after August of 2020 is they all have this black or this non-metallic or dark coating to them, as well as these visors to stop the bright sun reflecting off them so that you don't see them as readily in the night sky. That's awesome. Now, version 2 will be coming out. So we have the version 1s, which there's a ton of. We have the version 1.5s, whereas there's some of those, not as many. Well, now in 2022, we're going to have the version 2s. The version 2s are going to be exactly like the version 1s, but they'll be able to have a capacity like 10 times or 100 times as much as the version 1s, which is fantastic. So that's a breakdown of those satellites. Now, there's a few other features that are pretty cool on here. Is on the top, we can click on this cloud with a lightning storm in it. And what will happen is they'll show you exactly where there is storm clouds or severe weather in comparison to where I am located. So I know if this is over me, well, I'm probably not going to have great service. If I go to the rain cloud and click on that, that will show me the rain pattern, not necessarily the severe weather, but the rain in the location. So that's really great. So if you're going to get on a Zoom call, you might say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and postpone that for about 15 minutes. We have some really bad weather that's coming through. I like that. We could turn that on and off. Also, there's some settings here that you can get into and set this all up. And I'm not going to get into it really deep because that's for a whole nother video. The one thing that I do want to show you is, as you can see these birds flying next to me, I call them birds, they're satellites. You can see a green line. Let me go and bring up a little marker so that we can show you here. You see this green line right here? This green line is attached to a blue satellite, and that is connected to me right now. Now, as that gets further and further away from me, what will happen is it will switch. So my router or my dish will immediately switch to the next closer satellite. Now, we see the green dots. The green dots are satellites that can be used as secondary sources. So if something happened to this satellite right here, it would immediately switch to this one. So if we keep on watching this, we can see that now this is a dotted line. And if we come down here, my satellite dish is currently receiving signal from this one flying very close to me. And these other two satellites, or birds as I call them, are now dotted green. That means that they can take over at a moment's notice. So if something happened to this satellite, it would immediately switch to either this one or this one flying by. Now, what will happen is if this gets too far away, it will switch to the next closest satellite. Very cool stuff. Very, very cool. And it shows you where or which ground station this satellite is communicating with. So this satellite currently that I am connected with is going and sending its signal to Fort Lauderdale ground station, and then it's being sent to me. Now you see that? It immediately switched over to this satellite, and now this one has that green line on it, and it's using a ground station instead of in Fort Lauderdale, it's using Punta Gorda. Now remember, those ground stations, the data is not coming to me. It is being sent to my POP, and that is the problem, because that data from Punta Gorda or now Fort Lauderdale could be sent straight over here to Miami and then bounce back to me. That would be a hell of a lot quicker than sending it from Punta Gorda all the way up to Atlanta, Georgia, and then back from Atlanta, Georgia, all the way back down to Punta Gorda, and then back to me. Do you see what I'm saying? How the POP's location is very important, especially when it comes to latency. We want to get those POPs as close as we can to us. So let me go ahead and answer a question that a lot of you guys have thrown my way over the last few videos. Why can't I find a green triangle? That's all that I'm seeing is the purple triangles. And I've already set my location and it still doesn't help. Well, it's okay, guys. It's all right. I got you covered here. If you open up another browser window and type in what is myip.com. Now I'm going to blur out my IP. It does change every time you reboot the router, but I'm going to blur mine for right now anyways. Do you see right here that the ISP is SpaceX? Let me highlight that in yellow. And that my IP location is in Atlanta, Georgia, guys. Atlanta, Georgia. So yours is going to say something else, right? So if we go back to our map, and if I zoom into Georgia, you can see a green triangle. That is where I am being connected to. That is my associated POP with my current account or with my router. That is what it's being set to. So if you don't see a green triangle anywhere, go to what is my IP, and it will give you that IP location. Like I said, mine says Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe yours will say Miami. And then you'll look on the map and say, oh, let me come down here. There is a purple triangle in Miami. That must be my POP. And it is your POP. So even if it's not labeled as such, it will be your POP. The same thing as if you did what is my IP and you find out that your IP is in Virginia. And if we come onto the map, we can see here this number 3 purple says Ashburn. That is Virginia. So that would be your POP, even though it is not marked as green. Now, like I told you guys before, when I first started this, I was associated. My router was associated with Ashburn, Virginia, literally over 1,000 miles away. And that's why I had that 60 to 70 millisecond latency. Then when they moved me to Miami, it dropped all the way down to 20 milliseconds, sometimes 19. What a major difference. And for some reason, as of right now, this moment, I am connected to Atlanta, Georgia, 700 miles away. Gah! So guys, I hope you've gotten something out of this. So unlike some other channels, I like to dig in a little bit deeper and give you the information more of a point of view of a system administrator, someone that has a networking background. Now, am I going to be right about this stuff all the time? Probably not. And we do know that this is proprietary information, and I do not have the answer 100%. Okay, but I can tell you probably with a 90% certainty that as of right now, this moment, today, the making of this video, the POPs are not being load balanced. What that means is your router is not bouncing from POP to POP to POP. When you boot up that router, it is latching on to a POP and staying there. That is what I am seeing. So, like I said before, maybe what we can do, you and I, is reboot our routers, let's say every 4 hours, for the course of a day or 2 or 3 and go back to what is my IP to see where my IP is associated. Is it in Georgia? Is it now in Miami? Is it back all the way up in Virginia? Where is it? Now, could this have something to do with maybe latency or congestion and traffic to that router or in my location at that specific time? Yeah, because chances are it is going to assign me a pop based on latency, based on congestion and where I am maybe geographically located. So it's probably for me thinking about Miami, Georgia, and Virginia and saying, what's better as of this second when I reboot it, factory settings. So if we reboot it at different times of day, maybe, just maybe, I will get a time where my Miami base down south, only 80 miles away, will be less congested, let's say, than Georgia. And now I will be using them instead of Georgia or possibly Virginia. And that would be ideal. Once again, why? Latency. Right now out of Georgia, we're getting anywhere from about 29 to 39, 40 milliseconds. Most of the time it's in the 30s. Whereas in Miami, we were getting low 20s, even 19 sometimes milliseconds. And milliseconds and latency and your ping is what counts. It's very important, as I stated earlier. So guys, I hope you've gotten something out of this. I know it was a little bit geeky. I hope I showed you some things in here. I can dive in even deeper. If you guys want to know more information about this and how to do different things, let me know. In the comment area, ask me whatever questions you have. I might do a video just answering your questions, and that is it. Whereas this one, I had to dive in a little bit deeper because I wanted to tell you what SpaceX Starlink's Level 2 tech support, as well as Level 1, told me about what is going on. And basically, they didn't tell me much. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, please share this video with friends and family and anyone else interested in Starlink. That would be so helpful. Also, throw the video a thumbs up. That would be massive. And click this little bell icon over here once you're subscribed. If you're not, why the hell not? Subscribe. Click this little bell icon over here so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy. Love you all. We'll see you in the next one.